It stretches from the Carpathian Mountains to the Don River. It is inhabited by 48 million people. It is Ukraine, home to 130 ethnics. It is the land where each nation has its own history, cherishes its traditions, and lives for the future of its native land. Ukraine. This nation is not numerous. There have never been more than 14,000 Crimean Karaites. Dozens of ethnic groups originated from them. They are mentioned in the Holy Writ. They are one of the small nations listed in the United Nations book. Presently, there are about 1,000 Karaites in Ukraine, of whom 800 live on the Crimean Peninsula, and at least once a year, every Karaite visits the national sanctuary, the Gypsys fortress. The fortress had a peculiar geographical location. There were only two ways to get to it, from the east and from the west. Both entrances were under constant surveillance. The lookout always warned about approaching enemies. It was a duty of every Karaite to bring a stone to the fortress from wherever he happened to be. They piled stones in a certain place and used them while defending the fortress from attackers. For their courage in defending Crimean Khans, the Karaite were enlisted in the ranks of the military aristocracy. The Tarkans. Unlike the Tatars, who were good at offensive warfare, the Karaite were excellent in the art of defense. Relevant military attributes can even be found in the national symbols of the Crimean Karaite: a spear, a shield, and a fortress. Legends ascribed extraordinary abilities to the Karaite. They could appear in the fortress and at the rear of enemy troops at the same time. In 2002, researchers found a clue: an underground water reservoir. The secret of its existence and location was known only to the select few. Apart from its water supply function, this facility was used for military purposes. Warriors of the town could go down to the middle part of the reservoir, and then they could be elevated and attack the enemy. The Multinational cemetery is a sacred place where every Karaite dreams to be buried. The Traveller's Tomb is a tribute to the Karaite who perished in foreign lands. There are about 1,000 tombs here, dated from the early centuries AD. No lengthy inscriptions, no adornments, just the name, the kin, and the date of the death. Baltatimes is translated as no actual touch. The cult of sacred oak trees is still kept in deep secret. The ritual begins with laying out a figure shaped like the sun with rays around oak trees. What follows next is a complete secret. Keepers of these traditions shall be blessed, the traitors punished. Several years ago, a woman arrived here. She had been married for 12 years, but had no children, and no doctors could help her. After she prayed here, on her next visit, she had a 2-month-old baby. Gypsys is already about 800 years old. The last residents deserted this wonder in the air in the mid-19th century. After Crimea was annexed to Russia, Yevpatoria became the capital of the Karaite. It was their cultural and religious center. Now the Yevpatoria Khanasa is the only functioning Karaimi church in the former Soviet Union. Several times a year, it is visited by Karaimi believers from different CIS countries. Like Muslim mosques, the Kenasa is orientated from north to south. Entering it, one has to take off his footwear. Men and women sit separately, and unmarried girls have no right to be in this sacred place. Smart and clean clothes and no work are a must for the Saturday prayer. And you must celebrate Saturday, because it is sacred to you. Let work be done for 6 days, but the 7th day, Saturday, is for rest, for devotion to the Eternal. The Karaimi were mistakenly called Jews, although it was known that they never recognized the Talmud. They had their own Karaimi faith. Even members of the Russian royal family visit Karaimi Kenasas at different times. The Crimean Karaimi live by the oral law. Every man looks for his own path to God, and even confessors have no right to impose their interpretations of the Bible. The road to heaven begins on the earth, the Karaimi say. Their history began and continues on the Ukrainian land, in the folklore of Crimean Karaimi. Over the past 80 years, the traditions of the Karaimi choreography have almost been lost.
When some events took place in Kenasa, old men and women gathered, and I watched them dance. The essentials those old people used came from the heart, from their perception of life. As a rule, life sifts out everything unnecessary and unimportant. This principle is the basis of my choreography.
The only Karaimi ensembles in the world. The religious laws of the Karaimi. The undiscovered secrets of the cave town Chufut-Kalay. Travel Ukraine to find out more about the Karaimi. For more than half a century, Eidar Gerasimov was deprived of the opportunity to live in Ukraine. It was only after 58 years that he was able to continue the business of his ancestors, jewelers. In 1944, he was only a 16-year-old boy, but he cannot forget the soldiers' orders who broke into their house. They only gave us 15 or 20 minutes to pack up. Then they put us in a truck and brought us to the railway station. And there they put us in cattle cars and bolted the doors. That's how we travelled. That was how 200,000 Crimean Tatars were forcibly resettled on the new homelands in the Urals, Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. They spent more than 2 weeks packed in stuffy, dirty cattle cars. Many of them died from hunger, diseases and unbearable conditions, and their dead bodies were simply thrown out of the cars. They had to report regularly to the commandant's office. They were not allowed to go further than 7 kilometers from their assigned residence. For 13 years, their life was a complete regime of restrictions. They had to forget about all their business and crafts they had left in the Crimea. My late father found a way. We wrote quotations from the Quran, Leva, in our language, that put them in frames and sold them. This Yasin Sherif was a must in every family. The believers needed to read it every week, but there was nowhere they could get it. My father and I learned to print them on photo paper and made books. Then we sold them. Then they struggled. They wrote petitions, negotiated and demonstrated. In 60 years, more than 3 million signatures were collected. One of the signatures belongs to Heider Aga, but it was only in the 21st century that he returned to Ukraine, after the local activists found out that the deported man was the last living master of the jewelers' quarter. Students draw a sketch of what they would like to make, but an old master takes a wire, thinks a little, and begins to bend it and arrange the parts. For 5 centuries, Bakhchisarai was Crimea's main centre of jeweling. Crimean Tatars were real virtuosos in the filigree technique. The favourite metal of the filigree masters was silver, sometimes iron, copper or gold. The technique was so popular that it generated countless legends.
The ugly man complained to the sun. He wondered what he could do to show people the beauty of his heart. Then he cut his body where his heart was and began to draw threads from it. He wove them into filigree necklaces, rings, earrings, and the sun began to shine brighter in the village. It must have wanted to have a better look at those filigree ornaments.
No piece of the Crimean Tatar jewellery is like others, and the master's hands virtually create a historical impress of the Crimean Tatar culture. For example, ornaments shaped like the sun and stars are believed to have protective functions, and a rhombus is associated with fertility. The secrets of this art have always been handed down from generation to generation. That is how Heider Aga once learned his trade. Now he teaches his disciples. The old master's main role is imagination and the ability to listen. A burner like this was used for smouldering. That's how it was done. And even 20 or 25 grams of silver were smelted with this gas jet. Now the traditions of old masters continue in Heider Aga's disciples. And his son continues his mother's profession. She descends from a long line of musicians. The song Bakhchisarai came to the Oedipus with the father's recollections. My life, as if it was a caravan, flashing in front of my eyes. The place of my childhood will always be in front of my eyes. Forever, it will live in my memories. The song, We Roam Together, is an unofficial anthem of all gypsies in the world. A homeless, ever-rambling nation, they live everywhere and anywhere. They have no states of their own, but they have songs in which the history of their ancestors thrives. They settled in Egypt, Asia Minor and Byzantium. Who are they? An offspring of the artisanist caste called Dom, or descendants from many Indian peoples. Scientists are still unable to find an answer. These travelling seekers of a better life are divided into ethnic groups: the Tatars, the Vlachs, the Lovars, the Crims and the Serbs. It is believed that we are a group of artisans, blacksmiths and jewelers. The horse business was also important. There were owners of studs and horse dealers who traded at fairs. And of course many representatives of my group, the Serbs, are artistic performers. The Ukrainian Roms represent different ethnic groups. Igor Krikunov is one of the most popular Ukrainian gypsies. He broke the age-long professional tradition of the Roms and chose the stage. His father was a blacksmith and his mother a singer. Now he is the founder of an active dynasty and the artistic director of the only gypsy theatre in Ukraine. I must have chosen this profession because it has some element of a nomadic lifestyle. It gives me opportunities to travel, move, meet new people, see new cities and new landscapes, and discover a new world. That's in the blood of all gypsies. Barefoot vagrancy, swindling and horse stealing. These stereotypes are gradually dying out. The bulk of Roms have long settled and taken root on the Ukrainian soil. For as long as 1,000 years, the gypsies have kept their language, clan, traditions and laws. Their main beliefs are respect for elders and the values of matrimony. They follow their forefathers' patriarchal way of life. The Roms do not usually divorce, and a widow has no right to marry again. The gypsies love in spite of obstacles and join their hearts once and forever. Igor Krikunov simply abducted his wife. That's the way it goes with gypsies. Just at the moment, an empty wedding car was driving by, and I say to the driver, "Give me a lift to the hotel. I will pay you any money." She tried to resist, but I put her into the car and said, "You go with me, or I'll kill you."
Firstly, I always remembered what my grandmother said. She told me, "This is your destiny." And secondly, he was such a handsome man. I just couldn't help it. Now he's the most handsome man in the world for me.
Cinderella, Cinderella, отчего дрожат так руки? Видно, слишком много страсти, и в крови сердце стуки. Cinderella, Cinderella.
Gypsy songs. Sad, passionate, sparkling like champagne, and heartbreaking like a confession. The Roms sing of life and death, of love and heartache, of the treacherous fate and the changeable luck. Every year, they gather in Kiev for their song festival Amala, which stands for friendship. Friends from all corners of the world meet under the Ukrainian roof. Songs are ringing, the gypsy violin is weeping, and the wild energy of a gypsy dance is embracing hearts with a hot wave. All that we got from the Lords is a road. It is forever a gypsy's abode. Travelling the world, you can find a true friend. Give him the warmth of your heart. Give him your strong and reliable hand.